Hi, my name is Javier Bronfman. I'm the Regional Advisor on Sustainable Development Goals Integration for Latin America and the Caribbean at the United Nations Development Program.
My name is Victoria de Mello, and I am the current focal point for the Business and Human Rights Program for UNDP in the African region. And I've been working on this subject for the past 8 years and for the past 4 years in the African region.
Well, there are many challenges that companies face when it comes to fulfill human rights. Some of the main challenges include, for example, a lack of knowledge and understanding of human rights. Many companies may not be fully aware of their responsibilities regarding human rights and may not understand the complex issues surrounding their compliance.
Very often, companies are faced with big challenges when it comes to respecting human rights. Companies are having a hard time sometimes placing the human rights issues within their own organogram.
Additionally, lack of resources and limited capacity to comply with human rights can require a significant amount of time, money, and expertise. Small companies, for instance, may lack the resources and capacity to effectively address human rights issues.
They don't know if that should be the responsibility of HR, of a sustainability department. Very often, resources are limited, and companies prefer investing on something that could give them a better results on their bottom line. What's a big challenge is very often those shortcuts can bring companies to pay a higher price in the future. So sometimes companies decide to take shortcuts and not respect human rights, or perhaps skip a step on a due diligence process. And this sometimes can give them a hard time in the future.
There may be also resistance. Some stakeholders, such as customers, may resist efforts to improve human rights compliance, seeing it as a cost or as an additional burden on their business. Furthermore, there is reputational risk. Companies that are perceived as not complying with human rights may face negative publicity and loss of reputation, which can have negative impacts on their business. Therefore, many companies choose not to address these issues. Some key mechanisms that companies can put in place are the development of a human rights policy, which is a statement that sets out the company's commitment to respect and defend human rights.
In my opinion, I think that companies should, first of all, have a concrete and clear plan. It's very important that at the highest level, CEOs, vice presidents are engaged and involved in the process of developing a well-versed human rights policy. In those policies, you could outline, consult with the different stakeholders, and make sure that all of these elements are covered.
These policies should clearly describe the company's expectations and responsibilities regarding human rights and should be communicated to all stakeholders.
This is extremely important to share this responsibility with your stakeholders, but also to be aware of their issues, to be aware of their grievances. It's extremely important to have them on board with anything that you develop.
Conducting due diligence on human rights is crucial. This process should identify, prevent, and mitigate potential impacts and risks related to human rights issues associated with their company's operations and activities.
A company respecting human rights can mean different things. Sometimes respecting human rights can mean perhaps including more women in leadership positions, in making sure that there are concrete lines of reporting.
This may involve conducting different assessments, actively involving stakeholders, and implementing remedial measures when necessary.
Respecting human rights could mean having a transparency portal. Respecting human rights could mean making sure that companies are actually consulting with the different communities and key populations that are around where your projects are taking place.
Additionally, compliance mechanisms can be established. There are processes that allow individuals and communities to raise concerns or complaints about potential human rights impacts and violations. These mechanisms should be accessible, transparent, and effective, providing appropriate remedies for those affected.
So, more than anything, it's extremely important to be sure to have this concrete line of dialogue. The best examples I've heard are the ones of a very concrete and clear line of communication. The best examples I've heard were of companies that have established this concrete channel of communication with their stakeholders and with the communities.
Finally, companies can monitor and report on human rights performance. Companies should regularly monitor their performance and publish periodic reports on progress and challenges. This will increase accountability, help build trust, and provide valuable information for continuous improvements in these areas. Rather than mentioning a specific company, experience, or anecdote, I would like to reflect on the fact that in Latin America and the Caribbean, there are companies taking this issue of human rights very seriously.
More than anything, respecting human rights, at first, it will be an effort. At first, it will mean having a human rights policy. At first, it will mean taking a conscious effort and including that in your value chain.
There are companies advancing in these issues using tools such as the risk assessment matrices to identify possible human rights violations and propose ways to mitigate this risk.
But hopefully, throughout the development, this will become more natural. This will become something that is embedded into the company's practices. I often hear that there's a business case for human rights. We don't need a business case for human rights, but having one, if that is able to incentivize companies to work on these issues, why not? Let's spread the word and make sure that everyone is aware of the business case for human rights.
I believe significant progress is being made in the region. However, we still have a long way to go.